Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to the Culture Curriculum Chat podcast, where we elevate voices, build bridges, and celebrate the power of stories to change our classrooms, our workplaces, and our communities. Today, I am honored to welcome Rhonda Lawson, founder of Meet the World Image Solutions, an award winning author, a veteran with 23 years of military experience, and a powerhouse literary strategist who has helped nearly 1,000 authors bring their manuscripts, their marketing, and their messages to life. Rhonda believes writing a book is only the beginning, and today she's here to help us understand how to write, publish, and leverage the stories that matter most. Rhonda, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here.
Oh, thanks for coming. Now, you spent your entire life telling stories from Loyola University to the U.S. Army to now leading authors worldwide. What inspired you to begin writing, and how did storytelling evolve for you across your life chapters?
Oh, well, um, I have been writing for a long time. What inspired me to write was my love of reading. Um, I've been reading for as long as I can remember. So once I learned how to read, it was just kind of all systems go from there. I was reading everything. My mom used to buy me the books on tape. It wasn't books on CD back then, it was books on tape. And so, I would listen to the stories on tape and read along with the stories. And, that was my thing. I used to love those stories, and I actually tried to pass that love for, reading on to my daughter. She reads a little differently than I do, but she still has a love for reading, and I love that. And as I got a little bit older, I went from, of course, books on tape to reading young adult stories, Judy Blume, Francine Pascal. If you might remember the Super Fudge series, and
Yeah,
the Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. Those were
yeah.
my stories. I used to love to read those, and I felt like those stories told my story, even though the characters didn't look like me. I always kind of felt like a kindred spirit with those characters.
Yeah.
And like as I got older, I was reading the Sweet Valley High books. I was reading um anything that had to do with teenagers. And that's maybe why I felt a little different from other teenagers, because I was reading about white teenagers and I was not a white teenager.
I was all up in Sweet Valley High business too, like at the library, just getting all the volumes and just seeing what those girls are up to next.
Same,
Yes.
same,
And
same.
Enid was something else. That's a whole different episode. But Miss Enid, oh yes, I got you.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes,
So when
yes.
I was about 12, I started to write my own stories. And my mother really recognized that right away, that I had a love for writing, and she poured into that. And I really appreciate her for doing that. When my daughter was about 12 years old, I recognized that she had a love for acting. So I would pour into her acting. And I see this all the time, that every child is not going to have an interest in STEM. Every child is not going to have an interest in being a lawyer or a doctor, or, something that we consider a real job or a big money job or whatever. Sometimes our kids are going to have an interest in the creatives. It doesn't mean that that's what they're going to spend their lives doing. Because I have a love for writing, but I still have a good government job. My
Mhm. Oh
my
yes.
daughter has a love for acting, but she has, today, a good government job. But it was her love for acting that, really fed her interest in, being in school, that fed her interest in going to college and pursuing a degree. And, she graduated from college cum laude as a theater major, but it does not mean that she was going to pursue being an actress when she graduated. She thought about it. She even got accepted to, I think, 7 master's programs. She just decided not to go that route. but
Mhm.
it was because of what she learned in her theater program that helped her to become a better interviewer. So now, any job she's ever interviewed for, she's always gotten a job because she learned how to refine her speaking skills because of what she learned being an actress. She knows how to reach children. She was a teacher at one time, and she was able to better teach the kids that she was teaching because of her theater background. And now she also works for the federal government and is about to join the military. And she can still use a lot of those skills. So I say all of that to say is just because your child has an interest in the arts does not mean that they're not going to have what you might think of as a real job later on, but it can feed many of the skills that are going to feed into a good job later on or a good career later on.
Yes.
So, and then the other good thing about it is that when you feed into something that your child has an actual interest in, um, it can wind and it helps them to grow and it will actually put them into the direction that you really want them to go into. Like, for instance, you may be upset because your child isn't reading as much, but it may be because you're pushing books on them that they don't really want to read. But
That's
if
not
you
an interest.
align
Yeah.
those books into something that they're actually interested in, they could actually refine their interest and they may wind up reading more later. If your child is playing video games all the time, maybe pour into that interest instead of lamenting on the fact that they're always playing video games and you think they're wasting their life. Maybe pour into it and then kind of find out that maybe they can pursue a career in gaming or they can pursue an interest in computers and they can wind up making a lot of money that way.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
we've got
yeah.
to align our kids with the interests that they actually have. If
Mhm.
you want them to take the path that you think you want them to take, and if you
Mhm.
can align those two things, they can actually go a lot further.
I love that. I love that, Rhonda. And even like you said, how your mother poured into you because she saw the interest you had in reading. You did the
Mhm,
same for your daughter who had the interest in acting. And
mhm.
again, just giving that advice to families that don't discount or discredit your child's interests. There's
Right.
something there. And like you said with your daughter's theater background, the poise, the discipline, the way to carry herself in a crowd, those are all those disciplines you need to problem solve with groups, to bring, expression and expressiveness to what you're teaching. There's so many
Mhm.
things and elements that carry with you with those skills. You never know what you take with you when you're going in this life.
Absolutely.
And
And if
that's
I may add,
amazing.
because
Yes.
when you mentioned the poise and the discipline, my daughter also participated in a number of pageants. And in every pageant that she participated in, even if she didn't get the top spot, she always got something, whether it was a Miss Congeniality, whether it was, I think she got fifth runner up in Miss Maryland. That she always got something, and it was because of those skills that she got as a theater major. So every major has something that actually feeds into an interest that you can actually build on for something else.
Love that. And like you said, building, you're pouring into these authors that came to you
Yes.
with your company, Meet the World Image Solutions. Like you've supported nearly 1,000 authors to help them
Yes.
launch their books. Like that is huge. That
It
is an
is, and
amazing
I'll
thing.
tell you,
Yeah.
I give all honor to God for being able to do that. We're in our 10th year of the Black History Month Literary Weekend, the 10th year of Meet the World Image Solutions. And it's because of the Black History Month Literary Weekend and the amount of authors that we've supported and that we've been able to provide exposure for through that program. And because of the editing that I've done for a number of authors and the press releases and the contests, that number just starts to add and now and then over the last couple of years, I opened up, the Done For You publishing program, where for people who want to be self-published, but they don't have the skills to do it, or they don't have the time to do it. I do a done for you publishing program where I do all of it for them. And I don't take any royalties from them. I just do it all for them and I turn the keys over to them. So
Yes,
it's their
yes,
book, but
yes, that's
do it
amazing.
for them because everybody doesn't know how to do it, or everybody
Yes,
doesn't have the time to do it. Or maybe or maybe they're doing it themselves, but it doesn't look as good. And I want, even if you're a self-published author, I want your book to be able to sit next to a traditionally published author, and I don't want readers to be able to tell the difference.
that part. And it's really tough. I just published my first novel 2 months ago, and the process, I had an
It's
independent
hard.
publisher. It's really hard doing it on your own and by yourself. And like you said, comparing a traditionally published book and a book that's self-published, and if it doesn't look, I mean, to the intricacy of what my publisher said of like the adjustment and how how you line up the pages and how it bends. I mean, there's
Mhm.
so many intricacies that when you go to the bookstore or the library, you just get that book and you're reading, but there's so many nuances and things that once you get through that process, you don't realize until you're in it. And so when
Yes.
I saw your biography of helping nearly 1,000 authors, I'm like, that is not an easy feat. So brava to you and
Thank you
continuing
so
to
much.
yeah, because you know as well as I do, being an author, publisher, it's a lot of vulnerability, for people to put their words on paper and it's out for the world. Like people can find your book and read, whatever you wanted to share with the world. And there's something about that with your company that really is very powerful, like you said. And I love that you said, giving all glory to God, because He did give you that gift to
Yes, he
instill
did.
that. Yeah, I'm a firm believer to instill that in these individuals and more coming. And like you said, exposing them with your Black History Weekend. So more people that may not be of that identity of African American can support African American authors, in your area. And that is just, oh, awesome. Awesome. Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Oh, yeah. So let's talk about, especially with this authorship of yours, the craft. We talked
But
about,
before
yes.
you ask your question, I did want to congratulate you too. I wanted to say congratulations on your book. Yeah, I know you
Oh,
said you
thank
published a
you.
couple months ago, and
Yeah.
that's a huge accomplishment. So I did want to make sure I wanted to congratulate you as well.
Oh, thank you, Rhonda. Yes. It was, it was on my heart for 10 years, and I finally
Mm.
had the courage to put it out there. So, now meeting another fellow author and publisher, it's like you're speaking my language. Like I've been there because some people have that big dream and they don't see it to fruition, but it's like, man, I did it. It's just,
Yes,
yeah, it's still very surreal feeling. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. So
absolutely.
when we're talking about, you know, great writing versus great storytelling, how do authors know the difference and how can they master both? Yeah.
Well, I've always said that there is a difference, and a lot of people don't know the difference. They're like, "Well, isn't that the same?" And it's not the same. I have read some books where the story was very interesting, or the story had the potential of being interesting, but it was not written effectively. You can tell that this could be a really good story if the author had maybe given a bit more description, or if the author had made me care about it a little bit more, or if the author had given me a little bit more background. Or if the author didn't put so many words into it, so
Mhm.
sometimes you have to be able to give just enough description, or you have to make the reader care, or you have to put the reader into the situation. I'm I'm the type of writer and editor where um, I don't want to tell you that the character is sad. I want to describe the emotion. I want to describe the actions, and I want you to surmise that the character is sad. I want you to feel what's going on along with the character. And once you feel it, it's going to make you more invested in the story. So when you tell a story in such a way where you make the reader feel invested, that is great storytelling. And that's totally different from just having a good story to tell. So,
Yeah.
or I should say that's great writing. It's better than
Mhm.
just having a great story, but it's great writing when you are able to really make the reader feel invested. When the reader puts the book down and they have to pick it back up because they just really need to see what's going to happen next. I mean, I like to call it grabbing them by the collar and not letting them go. That's
Oh,
what you call great
yes.
writing.
Yes.
Or
Yes.
when the reader can laugh in all of the right places, or when they can picture it. When you have your character walk into a room and describe the room and the reader can actually see it, that's writing.
Mhm.
And
That's
so it's more
writing.
than just telling a story. So yeah, the
Mhm.
story could be interesting, but the story can be even more powerful when you really take time to invest in your writing. And that's what I try to help my clients do. It's more than just telling a story. It's about the writing. It's about making the reader care. And when you make the reader care, they are going to move heaven and earth to finish that story.
Yes.
And I like to listen to audiobooks. Have you ever
Me
listened to an
too.
audiobook and you got where you were going, but you didn't want to get out the car because
Yes.
the story kept you that entrenched? That's that's what you call great writing.
Yes, and even, like, you rooting for some characters, like, "Man, I can't stand them, but I understand why. I understand
Yes.
why that character is the way that they are because of the great writing,"
Yeah,
and
I
that
like to compare
yeah.
it to Marvel Comics. I use this all the time. The, um, the villains in Marvel Comics are not always your cut and dry villains. The villains you can actually, debate about whether the villain was really a villain because they usually have a reason for why they feel the way they feel. Or why they want to do what they want to do, like Thanos, for instance.
Mhm,
He felt
mhm,
that the um the earth was getting too overpopulated. And because it was getting too overpopulated, that many of the earth's minerals and the earth's resources were being depleted. And so in order to save the earth, half the population needed to be eliminated. So if you really look at why he was doing what he was doing, you're like, wow, that's not really a villainous move. Yeah, it
yeah.
seemed kind of scary that he wanted to just eliminate half the earth,
Mhm,
but
mhm,
when you think
mhm,
about
mhm.
what the earth is doing or what the population of the earth is doing to the earth's resources, you can understand why he felt the way he felt.
And that
Or
scarcity of we don't have enough for the rest
right,
of us, so we have to do something and do it quickly and violent. Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah,
And then
yeah.
look at Killmonger. Was
Mhm,
Killmonger a villain? Yes, he was mean,
mhm,
but he
mhm.
said he's looking at Wakanda with all of these resources and not sharing its resources with the rest of the world
Rest
while
of the
black people
world,
in the rest
yeah.
of the world are suffering.
Mhm. Yeah,
And it's
that's a good
yeah.
point, yeah.
So when you look at a villain that way, you're like, wow, are they really a villain? So but what that does is what that is adding depth to a character.
Yes.
And so that's another way that you can make your writing, just that much more powerful. You can make your reader actually care and be more invested.
Yeah.
It's more than just telling a good story.
It
It's
is more
about
than just telling a
actual
good
writing.
story. Oh,
Yes.
yeah, yeah, I feel you, I have some good girlfriends of mine that were like, "Ugh, that character, why did you do that?" It's like, "I didn't talk to you for a week because I don't," like, "Okay, okay, calm down, calm down. I have a reason. It's
Yeah.
awesome." And those are the kinds of, that's where you wanna, like you said, get them by the collar. It's like, "Yes, you got it, you understood." And speaking from, like, fiction to your memoir, I love this title. Nobody cares about your life story. There's always this, stereotype when somebody writes their memoir. It's like, oh, you're so, you're big on yourself and da 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 da. What are you going to teach me with what you learned? So, what do you mean when you say that title of your memoir, Nobody Cares About Your Life Story? How can people, when they write their memoirs, avoid those common pitfalls, the common
Yeah.
pushbacks? Yeah.
We don't.
Yeah.
Hey, how you doing? Well, the thing about people want to write their life story,
Yeah.
and it sounds interesting to you, but why should the a regular person on the street care about your life story? What is going to make them want to read it? And if you're not famous, if you haven't made like $1 million in 5 days and you're not teaching me how to do it, why would I want to read it?
Yeah.
So, but
Exactly.
often they do care about your message. So if they care about, if you are really giving a message and you're using your life as an example,
Mhm.
then that's going to make me want to read the story.
Yeah.
So often I say people don't care about your story, but they do care about your message. So what message are you trying to put forth while you're trying to tell your life story? I don't want to know about you being a beautiful baby, and I'm really kind of over everybody having a struggle story too. Everybody doesn't have
Mhm.
your story doesn't have to be a struggle story in order to be interesting.
That part.
And
Yes.
right, and we all didn't grow up the same.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
what if I don't have a technically I didn't really have a struggle story, not like some other people did. So I'm not always going to be able to identify with somebody who grew up with with less than I have. Does that make does that make my story less worth telling
Mhm.
because I didn't grow up with as much of a struggle as you did maybe. So
Mhm.
maybe I shouldn't
Mhm.
tell my
Mhm.
story.
Wow.
But I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
sometimes people feel like the more struggle they have, the more worth telling their story is. And then I remember my daughter, um, when she was in college, um, being told that her friends telling her that she didn't struggle enough because she wasn't pulled over by the police or because she didn't, kind of think of it. If you remember on, the early years of, Basketball Wives, I
Yeah.
didn't watch
Yeah.
I didn't watch it back then, but, I remember everybody talking about how Jennifer said she didn't know what a food stamp looked like, and everybody came down on her because she didn't know what a food stamp. Heck, I I barely knew what a food stamp looked like. I didn't grow up with food stamps. Are you gonna get mad at her? Why are you gonna get mad at her because she didn't
Exactly.
know what a
She's
food
just
stamp
trying to
looked like?
learn. Yeah.
Right. But everybody doesn't have the same struggle. So, and that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. But we come down on people because they're like, oh, you don't know what it's like to struggle. And then we come down on the person. And then that person doesn't think that this story is worth telling.
Yeah.
So, um, and so going back to your original question is what message do you want to give? And then when
Mhm.
you give that message and you want to use your life as an example, or you want to infuse your life into that message, that's what makes your story worth telling. It's not really
Yes.
about who has the worst struggle.
Exactly. It's like if it's the worst struggle, is it the most inspirational? I mean, that's a whole nother thing too. Like,
Mhm.
different struggles, different lenses. You're right. And each
Right.
story is worth telling. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So we're going to kind of switch gears to the ethical use of AI because especially with writing in the writing world, and you have a lot of great things to say about this. But what guidelines do you recommend for authors who want to enhance their writing, like we said, get more depth and breadth
Mhm.
without compromising their authenticity or their integrity? Yeah.
Um, well, I like to use AI to help me to organize my writing.
Mm-hmm.
I like to use it for brainstorming.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I like to use it to help me to develop my characters. But when I actually do my writing, I write. I do my own writing.
Yes.
Um, I'm not gonna let and I've tried. I remember people were saying, "I'm gonna get AI to write my book for me." So I said, "Let me try." I said, all right, AI. I didn't
Mm,
say AI. I just went in
yeah,
chat GPT. No,
yeah, yeah.
AI. Hey, write the first two chapters of my book for me. With my book, Surprise Swipe Right. I said, write the first two chapters for me, and it wrote it for me, and I read it. It's like, oh, this stuff.
We need RI. We don't need AI. We need RI. We need
Right.
Rhonda's intelligence. I love that. I know. It's
Yeah.
just like, no, it's kind
Like,
of
this is
giving me
not how I
some
would.
open-ended questions to think about, but it's
Yeah,
all, it's gotta be
exactly,
you.
exactly.
Yeah.
It gave me some
Yes.
food for thought. It gave me a couple of ideas, but I'm
Yeah.
like, this is not how I would have written this. This is
Mhm.
not how I wanted to start this chapter. And why is it? And what I noticed is it had certain patterns. It always wanted to have the character staring out of the window, reflecting on something. They always sounded depressed about something. I'm like, no, this
Yeah.
is not my character.
Still not my character. Oh, I love that. Yeah. Just staring off, waiting for you. That's
Right. Drinking a cup of
the
coffee or something. Like,
coffee. Why is it always coffee? When I drink my coffee, I'm in a good mood. I'm not depressed. I'm not hanging on, you know? It's
yes, yes. So what I
yeah.
decided to do was I took AI and I started to organize my thoughts with it. Like, all right, how do I want my chapters to look? What do I want in each chapter? How do I want how do I want to organize my characters? What attributes do I want them to have? Now, sometimes I may say write a chapter for me just because I want, like if I ran into um some writer's block, like I wasn't sure where I wanted to go with a chapter. I might say,
Yeah.
okay, I'm at a point where Miss Loretta has just met Charles and this happened or that happened, or why would Loretta need a handyman over for this? And and it
Mm,
might give me some ideas. I'm like, okay, that's a good idea. And then I'll write it down. So I
yeah.
might do that just to break the writer's block. So it helped me to speed up my writing process. But
Yes,
like I
yes,
said, when with the actual writing, that's going to be mine. But I
yes,
think right
yes.
now, and I read a lot of discussions on social media um, about the use of AI, and I'll see people saying things like, "You're not a real author if you use AI." Says who? It depends.
Exactly.
It depends on the way you use it.
Yes,
But now,
yes.
I do agree you shouldn't be letting AI write your books for you because you don't know where
No,
the information is coming from. But if
that
you're
part,
using
yeah.
it as a writing assistant, instead of a writing substitute, there's
Yes,
nothing wrong with that. And there are great ways to do it. Like I said, to organize your writing, to do outlines,
yes.
to help with writer's block, things
Mhm.
like that. There is nothing wrong with that. And there shouldn't be anybody who's going to make you feel guilty about how you use your writing.
Yeah.
There are people out there who use real people as writing assistants. Maybe you can't afford to pay somebody as to be a writing assistant, but you have Chat GPT that you pay $20 a month for, or Claude,
Mhm.
or the other one that starts with a J, Jeeves, or whatever it is that you use, that you can use as an assistant. Use the
Yes.
tools that you have. God blessed us with technology, and I do believe that technology is a blessing when used correctly. And
Part, yes,
yeah,
yes.
use what you have.
Use what you have, and I remember when I was in the writing process with the first one, it was craft me a schedule to keep me,
Yes.
my writing schedule, and it would, shuffle my meetings and my calendar so I would have that uninterrupted time to devote to writing, and it felt much smoother to get through things because I had that, schedule into
Mhm.
that. So you're right, using it as a tool to help, but it's not JI or RI. That's our voice. Yeah, it's our voice on that paper.
Right.
Exactly. Oh my goodness. I mean, I love this conversation with you, Rhonda. So, what
Me
is
too. I'm
one?
enjoying it.
Yeah, yeah. And so, what is for our authors and prospective authors out there? Where can they find you and your work to help them enhance their storytelling prowess into the pages?
Well, first of all, if you go to my website, www.mtwimagesolutions.com, you can go to my website. And I have a number of resources on there. I have courses. I have services, of course. And I also have workbooks. You can find all of those in my store on my website. I also have, as I mentioned, the Black History Month Literary Weekend, which is coming up in February 19th through the 21st in New Orleans. And I'm so excited about that. This is going to be our 10th anniversary year. We're going to have a really good time. I'm looking forward to that. Um, we're going to be also announcing the winners of our For the Culture Book Awards. And I call it the For the Culture Book Awards because, there are a lot of awards out there where all you do is vote, and then the author who gets the most votes is the winner. We don't do that. We do have a voting aspect of it, but we also read the books, and we we judge the books based on the story quality, the editing, the book cover, and then we take the voting, and that's only 30% of the actual total score. The editing and the story quality actually are the biggest percentage of the vote. So just because you got a lot of votes does not necessarily mean you're going to win.
I love
So,
that.
but yeah, because like I said, the art of writing is very important to me. I treasure the art of writing, and if anybody works with me, they're going to know that I treasure the art of writing. And I don't want to award people just for being popular on social media. I want to
Yeah.
award people who actually take the art of writing seriously. And so anybody who works with me knows that that's what I'm all about. So I'm excited about that contest. This is our second year doing it, and I can see this contest continuing to grow.
Oh, I love that. Oh, gee, this is amazing. And I will have all of your information in the show notes as well. So my audience can follow you and hopefully, be a future client of yours.
So
And have their book come to life. So this is just wonderful. Oh, Rhonda, thank you so much for pouring into our listeners and our viewers with clarity, discipline, and purpose about your work and just how to have the difference between storytelling and great writing. And it's just amazing, amazing conversation today. Thank you so much for being on our show.
thank
And
you, and thank you for such great questions.
oh yeah, I try, I do my research and make sure I got everything set. But yes, and if you are watching on YouTube, Mrs. Edmonds Culture Corner, or listening on the Culture Curriculum Chat, please share this episode with a friend who is just needing that push to get their story out in the world.
Yes.
Yes, I'll see you here same time next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Navi.